Hi again. You know, yesterday I told you about feeling pregnant. And so today I want to tell you about meeting our first baby, our first child. And this story will sound bizarre and almost unbelievable. So I want to start out by reassuring you that most foster families, I don't even know how they do it. My God, they take in these children and they're required to fall in love with them. And then at some point somebody comes and takes them away. And that must be just so heartbreaking. It must be so difficult to do. But there are some, once in a while, foster families who are raising children, taking in foster kids from a different belief system. So I'll just say that we went with the head of the department and we arrived at the house. And the first thing we noticed about the baby was that he didn't cry, didn't make eye contact, didn't follow you with his eyes, didn't move. And he was 2 months old then. And so I was a little bit concerned, but then, you know, we had heard that he was a fetal drug baby and that he was so brain injured. So I was prepared just to stay really calm and not make any assumptions. And until this mother began to explain, the foster mom, that she was so proud of herself for raising him the way she did, because he arrived at their home screaming. And of course he was screaming. He was detoxing from drugs. He was a fetal drug baby and he had just lost his mom. But she made an agreement with her family that they would always put him down if he started to cry and not touch him until he stopped crying and not feed him until he stopped crying. And I was listening and trying not to say, "You what?" But then she said, "And the cool thing is that I have made him a little man because I didn't want him to think he was a baby. And so I would not feed him milk or formula." She said, "I fed him watered down Coca-Cola in a bottle." And she said he wouldn't drink it, so I would pry open his mouth and squirt it down his throat because I knew he needed to get some sugar, she said. And then she told us that she would not feed him baby food, and it would have been too early anyway. He was just, you know, she got him at a few days old. But she told us that she fed him only ground up beef. And since he couldn't swallow yet, and she would pry open his mouth and push it down his throat. So we were in shock. But obviously, this child was meant to be ours because God, love, had gone out of its way to organize this. So we took him home and he still didn't cry, still didn't look at us, still didn't expect to be held. So we took him to the doctor the next day. And the doctor, the pediatrician, said that he was what's called encopretic. And in this case, that means that he had shut down so that he no longer felt when he was hungry. He no longer knew when his diaper needed to be changed. He no longer recognized that he wanted to be held. He was just completely numb. He had no idea what to do with humans who loved him and cared for him. So tomorrow I'll tell you about how he decided to come back into just amazing aliveness. Thank you.